And we're off and running. Hope you're tied on, everybody. It's a Thursday afternoon here on Gulfstream Weekly. Ron Nicoletti, Jason Blewett alongside our paddock studios in the hot Hallandale Beach sun. But boy, oh boy, summertime here in South Florida, well, it's the place to be, and we're glad you're with us. We hope you're doing okay out there as we kick off a new four-day racing week.
Four-day racing week, and we're starting it very early with a really nice carryover in the Rolling Super High Five today.
Yeah, we left off. It's been a while since we last saw you, at least on Gulfstream today. We were here yesterday, a dark day for the horses, but we, of course, filmed our second edition, the latest one of Gulfstream Weekly, which is up on GulfstreamPark.com and over on our YouTube channel. They're both worth a click of the mouse, if you will. Now, as far as running down, and we'll get the formalities out of the way. Usually that's what we do early on Gulfstream today. We'll start off Europe, and more on that Super High Five carryover in a second. But Europe, Friday, another Sunset Twilight Friday here tomorrow. And, well, the expert is Ron Nicoletti. No surprise there.
Beat the Expert, and just play along with us. You just go to our Facebook page and play along. Beat the Expert. You pick more winners than me. You got a chance to win one of those cool polo shirts. And if you look at the sleeve there real closely, when I was trying to make a muscle, it says, beat the, that.
Trying and failing.
Right. Beat the Expert. You beat the Expert. So lots of fun. Make sure you go online and play along with us, and you got to have it in before the first race. And you made that point. Tomorrow, first race post, 2:15 p.m.
Yeah, around 2:15, give or take a few minutes after, a quarter after 2. But Gulfstream Park, the place to be all week long as we continue to build forward and pick off a day one at a time to the Summit of Speed here on Saturday, July 1st. A little less than a week and a half out. Of course, more on the contenders and those major races here at Gulfstream Park as the card progresses today. Now, as far as the Super High Five carryover, it's a good one. Just under $42,000 left over from Sunday's nightcap. $41,882 in the first race, your dollar rolling Super High Five. And boy, oh boy, we can start, well, the early pick 5 with race number 1 today at around 1:15 on the dirt.
We had mandatory payout in the Rainbow Six last Saturday, so we have a new carryover starting to build, and it's over $8,000, and that starts in race number 5 with this 10-race card.
And then race number 6 kicks off the late pick 5. I'll be giving out an early and a late pick 5, as well as a Super High Five carryover play. Again, we just cannot ignore the Super High Five with that carryover of about $42,000. And man, can't wait to see how much money I'm going to lose by about 1:30 today, because we've got an early pick 5 and a Super High Five ticket, which we'll put up and show you. And by the way, with the sun out and the weather is just splendid here in South Florida today, we're fast and firm. It's a 1-5 with 158, 1568, 268, 2368. Did you get all that? $26 to play for my Super High Five. Obviously, I am a big fan in the opener of the number 5 switch. If that horse or Biddo Magic runs first or second, I think we're going to hit the thing, and that's where I stand. And in fact, as far as the early pick 5 goes, let's show you that play as well. We went 26 in the Super High. We'll only go $12 worth of combinations in the early pick 5 for a 50-cent play. 158 in the opener for me. And again, getting back to who we like and why in the first, I am a fan of the 5 switch. I think there is a good chance that this horse quite simply is dirtied up off his last 2. Legit excuses, having tried the turf 2 back, and then that race going 5 furlongs in the slop just a couple weeks ago. He didn't run that well, didn't run that poorly either, finishing 3rd. Getting a fast track today at 6.5, I just think this is a much better fit all around for the 5 switch. Now, next to him, Ronnie, the 6, Lil's Fast Boy, who if he runs anywhere near as far as the buyer that he got most recently in the slop of 66, he will bury this field. Where do you stand with him coming out and coming back, I should say, off his effort May 25th, a race we will show you over a very wet track here at Gulfstream.
He's stepping up to face winners after drawing clear, and as you can see, once the video gets going, he just walloped this field. He won by 6.5 lengths, but it was on that sealed sloppy track. I do have him on my ticket, but I do not have him on top. But I wouldn't leave him out for all the reasons that we're showing you right now. It's just a good performance, and it's got to translate that to the turf course today. And by the way, the turf course listed as firm.
Well, the first is on the dirt, my friend.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
We usually start with the turf race
that's
there.
what I'm using.
Well, don't worry. There's plenty of turf on there. Sit tight, man. Let's get through this dirt race first. We got plenty of turf. I know you're excited about the grass racing today. Again, slop to fast footing. That's a bit of a question mark off a career best. I think Lil's Fast Boy, again, not to harp on it off the big fig, a little bit vulnerable. I like the 5 switch. You are going to take the 8 Adagio, and our good buddy of the press staff, Eddie Gray, said with the super high 5 carryover, you would go all Adagio, all, because, man, this horse does like to run second.
It does like to run second, but I meant to say in that the previous horse, Lil's Fast Boy, that he was going from the slop to the main track, fast main track. But goofed that up. Adagio stretching out to 6.5 furlongs after rallying to finish third, beating 3/4 of a length against this level of competition, going 3/4 of a mile. Daniel Gazziter is the trainer. Tyler Gaffleone in the saddle this afternoon. This is what I'm hanging my hat on. Currently co-favorite at 7-2 with the horse that just to his inside, and that is the number 7 Starship Danny.
As Tyler Gaffleone, by the way, from the outside post with the 8 Adagio, looks for win number 89 this meet at Gulfstream Park. I've got the second leading rider on my horse, the 5 switch, and Edgar Zayas. And a belated happy Father's Day to Edgar Zayas and all the dads out there, as Edgar did celebrate his first Father's Day with his new baby. Moving on to race number 2, we go with a field of 6. The spotlight on this Thursday card comes out early because this is indeed the featured second race on the program. Nice purse, $44,000 in this 2-turn mile race on the grass. And trainer Patrick Biancone sends out the old 1-2 punch. He's got a pair of 6-year-olds by Warfront in the 2 Diamond Bachelor and the 5 Bouchard. Would you say, and you picked them on top, I've got him second, is Diamond Bachelor the class of the field, at least going into race 2?
I think so. He's turning back to a mile after returning from the layoff. He opened and surrendered a 6-length lead when finishing second. It was a 12-furlong starter handicap. It's a gelded son of Warfront, but look at its record at the distance. 7 starts, 3 wins in 2 seconds. Nicky Figueroa going to ration his speed this afternoon. He went out there, had that big long lead, going 12 furlongs. The turn back in distance, Diamond Bachelor, I think, is 6-5 on the morning line. And this one, by the way, is on the turf.
And, of course, he may be on the lead as well. You got a little turf. You've also got some speed with the 2 Diamond Bachelor. I think you make the argument, though, or could make the argument, and that's where I stand as far as what side of the coin I'm on. He's just not as sharp as he was last fall when he was really in sort of a wind machine type groove for Patrick Biancone. That was my one sort of cause for pause at a short price with Diamond Bachelor. We'll quickly pop the number 3 Spring Up Ronnie, who's got Tyler Gaffleone for trainer Mark Cassie. He has not been out in about 10.5 months, but clearly with the move from west to east and getting into the Cassie barn, this horse really took a forward move. 1 for 20 in late May of 16 at Gulfstream Park and followed it up last July, right around the start of Saratoga, with a good-looking win over Little Baltar, race we're going to show you right now.
Well, go ahead. You're showing the number 7 in here. Spring Up, who's 3 this afternoon. And this one making his first start. It was a really solid summer campaign here last year. As you mentioned, he won 2 of 3 outings on the turf. Mark Cassie, son of Spring Up Last. What I like, training sharply up at Palm Meadows.
Yeah, clearly a good-looking work tab, getting out to train every 7 to 10 days as far as a published breeze, and that's what I like. Not so much focused in on the times. I just like that regularity when horses are training well. They're getting out and recording a published breeze every, say, week to week and a half, and you do have that off the bench with the 3 Spring Up. Now, JR's Holiday, speaking of horses that have back form like a Diamond Bachelor, this horse at one time was pretty good as a 3-year-old. He clearly has lost his way, and maybe it's just a case where he just can't compete at this level anymore. A change of scenery, however, is never a bad thing, and that's where I went, and the reason being he's off a near 50-day layoff, and maybe, and Jose Garofalo does a good job and definitely overachieve with JR's Holiday, but maybe Saffie Joseph can find off that trainer change some of that old solid form with JR's Holiday.
You mentioned the barn change. This one, a multiple grade 3 stakes place, son of Harlan's Holiday, hoping to recapture that back class. Want to show you a bit of a stat that I found intriguing in here, and that's on the one Holiday, JR's Holiday, Saffie Joseph Jr. First after a trainer change. Now the big key is here on the turf, right here at Gulfstream Park. He's only 1 for 6, a limited sampling, doesn't do it often. 17%, he's 17% in the money, but that positive return of investment. This is just a stat, narrowing it down to just the turf course.
I'm anxious to see what Saffie can do with the one JR's Holiday. For the most part, this is a horse whose resume doesn't fit the typical Saffie Joseph Jr. sort of mode, if you will, more of a dirt sprinting claimer type. We'll see what he can do off that 50-day layoff as he runs against 2 from Patrick B. and Cone, both by Warfront. We move on from actually a hardened group of older horses to a lightly race cast of 2-year-old fillies in race number 3, a $25,000 maiden claimer at 4.5 furlongs. There is obviously guesswork to be had. You've got a field of 8, and by the way, very few scratches and changes on today's card. Now, as far as experience goes, this one is not long on experience. Only the number 4 Menage and the 640 kilos have run. That means you and I both guessed with the same exacta. We've got the 2 inside firsters, the French horse for Jack's or Better Farm with Ralph Nix training, and of course the one Derby Day Darling, who is in good hands with Kathleen O'Connell sending that one out.
Well, the 2 is the daughter of Awesome, of course, debuting, as you mentioned, for Ralph Nix, who's, I want to show you a stat on Ralph Nix with first-time starters, 2-year-olds, maiden claiming on the dirt. He's 4 for 17, 24%, 65% in the money, and he's got a positive return of investment of $2.19, and that's the reason I went that way, besides the fact that, Tyler Gaffalione, the leading rider, so you got a barn that does very well with first-time starters under the maiden claiming in the maiden claiming ranks, Tyler Gaffalione in the saddle, and like you said, not only do we have the same exacta, we got the same tribe. We both used the one Derby Day Darling, who's the daughter of Cool Coleman in second.
Who trained Cool Coleman? Do you remember?
Nick Zito?
Yeah, very good. Right on the money for Bob LaPenta. I like these Cool Coleman babies. There aren't many floating around. I know Linda Rice has got a good one up north. We'll see if we guessed right in race number 3.
Let me show you a stat, too, on Derby Darling Day. Of course, on Kathleen O'Connell, was one of the best with 2-year-olds running right here. First-time starters, 2-year-olds, maiden claimers on the dirt. Similar stat as we had for Ralph Nix. She's 13 for 78. She's got a big sampling, 17%, 37% in money with a positive return of investment, $2.34. And these are the 2 of the best trainers here with our 2-year-olds on the ground. So I think those are the logical 2. And that's the reasoning we put them on top in here, but I'm going to box them around.
You've also got Stanley Gold with the 3 Winnie and the number 4 Menage running both those horses for Arundel Farm. Caught up with Stanley Gold on this week's Gulfstream Weekly. You can check that out. Again, GulfstreamPark.com and our YouTube channel. Moving on to race number 4, we get back on the turf at 7.5 furlongs with this Florida bred, other than 3-and-up Filly Amera optional claiming race, in which we go with 8, and we might get a fast pace in this race due to the 2 First Illusion and the number 3 Great Euphrates. Now, I think that may set it up, at least logically speaking, for a horse who's going to have quite a bit of backing on her behalf, and that is the 8 Aquemini, who had that 2-race win streak snapped when 3rd, but beaten only a neck in her last start on May 12th. A race we will backtrack with our spotlight here on GP today, and we will show you as, again, she was looking for the hat trick. She got a good ride. Saving ground was not a tactic in which, due to the race flow and the fact that she was basically 3 to 4 wide around both turns, she was not able to save any ground. Despite that, her closing kick was undeterred, and I like the way she finished here in a blanket finish that actually produced, as far as next out winners go, the runner-up, Majestic Mayora, came back to win for Marcelo Navarro.
Yeah, so, I mean, if that's the performance, I thought this horse was going to sit the trip behind the speed near. You mentioned Majestic Mayora, finished 3rd, beaten the neck last time out. That was a great race by this horse, and I think the logical choice.
All right, with the first 4 down, we set our sights on nearly 10K in that Rainbow 6 carryover. We'll have Ron's ticket, a lot more coming your way on the other side of this quick break.
At ExpressBet, we celebrate the champions that make horse racing great. That's why we provide more ways to bet from more places than ever. We've built an entire family of brands to give players more of the rewards they deserve, give bettors the information they need to win, and provide a community for horse bettors. Because the best way to support the champions of horse racing is to champion horse racing. ExpressBet. We are racing.
It's 4 down and 6 to go on this Thursday edition of Gulfstream Today. It's great to have you with us here. Jason and Ron from our paddock studios. We are fast and firm, and we begin anew, essentially, in that Rainbow Six. 4.5 million plus was the total pool last Saturday. Quite a few people hit the thing for nearly $28,000 a pop. What's your ticket looking like today?
$43.20, and I went 3 deep in here with 247. I couldn't find that single. I was tempted to single a couple of horses in here, but did not. $43.20, and let's see if we can get this job done today. And 10th race, the 8th, my long shot. Talk about that one a little bit later.
All right, well, that's a little bit of a teaser. You're going to want to stay tuned here on Gulfstream Today. Ron's Bomber in race number 10 is the 8 horse, and that horse is Our Boss, who will try to boss those around in the nightcap, but that's way down the line. Getting into the opening leg of this Rainbow Six, which, by the way, is a 3-and-up $20,000 maiden claimer on the turf at 1 mile and a 16th. It pains me. It really is a big NHL fan. Hockey, I mean, racing doesn't count. That's my life. But as far as my favorite professional sport, it's hockey, and nothing else comes close. And Jaromir Jagr is one of my favorite players of all time, the great number 68. It pains me that Jagr the Colt, who's also by one of my favorite horses of all time, and Uncle Mo, isn't a Kentucky Derby champion. He is, however, supposed to be a handful in this $20,000 maiden claimer as he drops down for Lisa Lewis. I didn't think he ran all that great most recently for maiden 35, but this is an easier field all around.
Well, getting back to hockey, we lost Jason Marchio in the draft last night to the new team, the Golden Knights in Las Vegas. And
yep.
I really like the kid. He scored 30 goals. Jaromir Jagr on the Panthers right here. So now that you're in South Florida, you can go to a couple of Panther games and watch him play.
I'm like an honorary Florida Panthers fan, still very much, and will always be, and it's good and bad because I'm suffering. A New York Rangers fan, but I will root for the Panthers, and you can take me to a game. How about
I will do that. Well, Jagr is looking to score at the $20,000 level.
Tough to defend against, right? Today for 20 G's, he's tough to defend against.
And racing with blinkers off this afternoon, so mark that down after promising career debut. I thought it wasn't that bad at the 35 level in which he rallied to finish 4th, beating 3 lengths. You mentioned Lisa Lewis, son of Uncle Mo, so I think this horse is in the right spot to maybe score.
We hope so. 4-7 to the net for Ronnie and I in race number 5. All right, let's get on to the 6th. Back to the main we go. Good mix of turf and dirt on this card today at Gulfstream Park. Fast and firm as we kick off Thursday's late pick 5 with a group of 2 lifetime 3-and-up filly and mare 6250 claimers. About a little late pick 5 action. Let's take a little look-see here. We'll go 3-9 in leg number 1. That is using Star Baby, and I am a fan of the 9 US Diva, and much like Ronnie's Rainbow Six, had a tough time coming up with the single, and as you can see, there is no single on the program today. I may have to use our Bossy or Bomber in race number 10. More on that again as we get there. Moving on to race number 6 and telling you who we like and why. I am a fan of the 9 US Diva. I like the trainer Bernardo Lopez. I like the fact that this filly is only running for the 2nd time for 6250. It's not like she's got a ton of losses at this claiming condition for this claiming price. And again, a sharp trainer who's on a good run right now, a layoff of nearly 50 days. And the fact that Zaya stays gives me hope and just gives me an optimistic feeling that she's going to run well. And I think run well as I wrap it up at 6.5 furlongs, where some of the speeds are going to be awfully tired. getting that extra 16th of a mile.
Taking the blinkers off today in that horse. I backed off this horse. I originally had it close, higher up on my ticket. It went back. I did go with the other horse you used on your late pick 5 ticket. That's the 3-star baby. Dropping to this level, turning back to 6.5 furlongs. Stalked the pace, retreated late when facing 12-5 condition claimers. But that was going a mile, and that was on a sealed, sloppy track. So I think this horse, Star Baby, can run well with the beautiful weather that we have this afternoon. Split your 2 with the 8, leading on you, drops a notch, shipped in from Tampa, finished 4th. You know, and I thought it was okay. It was also, you know, going from the turf to 5 furlongs on the sealed, sloppy track.
And gets the fast footing and a little more distance. They've all got to go the 6.5. And again, I thought distance might be, as silly as it sounds, at 6.5 furlongs. Still a short race here at Gulfstream, but I did think that extra 16th might be pushing it with some of the horses. I'm hoping, again, US Diva puts in that big run from the back of the pack. On a race number 7, we previewed this 2-turn turf mile maiden special weight for 3 and up fillies and mares on yesterday's taping of Gulfstream Weekly, and it very much is a case of, I think, the 2 main players, and in a way, Todd Pletcher really has got his fingerprints, if you will, or his horses have their hoof prints all over the inside post in the 7th race today, where Todd sends out the one Crave. And we'll show you Crave running most recently, a daughter of Candy Ride, who was just second best via the spotlight behind Fashionably Wild, who had run well and kept some really nice company, Ron, over the championship meet. Was getting a trainer change back on May 21st, Preakness weekend, in the race we're looking at, and Fashionably Wild was also 3 to 5. Crave was very stubborn, running second.
Running second, and this is the race that both of you and I were thinking of. Maybe go, here's a horse you might be able to single in the number 1 horse today, Crave. But we both went back and looked at the number 3, Gabrielle's To Blame, who's a half-sister to Florida Derby, Kentucky Derby winner, Nyquist. And as you mentioned, we showed this race yesterday. Had some trouble at the start.
Oh, I mean, they open up the gate. It's that old Rodney Dangerfield joke. They're off except one. She's the number 8. We've got her highlighted. They'll open up the doors back on February 11th at Tampa, and clearly she was off more than a beat slow. Despite that, and despite the fact that she basically walked out of the starting gate and had no position, she actually put in a bit of a rally before tiring in the stretch. You're likely going to get a better race out of her today beneath or for trainer Jonathan Thomas, a former assistant to Todd Pletcher. So you've got the old student against the teacher as a subplot in today's 7.
And they're adding the blinkers this afternoon, which is going to help. Luca Panici will be in the saddle, and as you mentioned, during the stretch run of that race, the horse, you know, was tiring, but actually had some little bit of traffic problems. Yeah, I'm expecting this horse to run very well. If we get 10 to 1, I'll be waltzing to the window.
What I don't know about the 10 to 1, but what's the stat here with the Cassie first or Magical Sky?
Well, you know, first-time starter Magical. This is the first-time starters on the turf at a mile, maiden special weight, 7 for 71, 10%, 30% in the money, $1.65 return of investment, and we're talking about this $150,000 daughter of Sky Mesa by Pulpit, as I mentioned, debuting for Cassie. So, you know, I narrowed it down because the horse is debuting at a mile, and you just wanted to show you that 10% win, maybe a little bit of a cautionary tale.
It is. If the horse is 20 to 1, who cares about the negative stat? But if you got a firster who's live today and being bet, certainly noteworthy, and that's a stat we will no doubt, if the horse is very bet strongly, we'll revisit during the Prado for race number 7. Down the road we go. In fact, our final dirt race on this Thursday card is race number 8, a 6-furlong, 3-year-old filly, $50,000 allowance optional claimer. I am a fan. I like the number 1, Lyrica, quite a bit in this race, and I do think the 3 Threat will be obviously showing speed this afternoon beneath Luca Panici. I guess the big question mark with Threat is, does she step up her game second off the claim for Saffie Joseph Jr. after showing speed and stopping in the slop on May 25th? Let's use the spotlight, and we'll go back to one of her previous wins. In fact, her second career victory on May 11th here, when she was able to track outside and had a dream trip before she ran away beneath Misael Jaramillo.
That was 2 starts back, and that was on May 11th, and it was a pretty nice performance. And I just left this one off the ticket because we talked yesterday. I really think that the number 8 Surprise Wedding, who we'll talk about in a moment, is going to run exceptionally well.
And tell us why. We can all see the replay here. Nothing really, more to point out as far as Threat doing her thing. She's a pace factor today. She's got to run faster, and if she is to win this race, she's got to beat a much better field in the quality department than the group that she took down on May 11th. Tell us a little bit about the 8 Surprise Wedding, who showed obviously some promise as a 2-year-old.
Well, she surprised everyone when she ran second. She was 17-1 that day, and that was in the $500,000 My Girl division of the Florida Sire Stakes. And it was only her second career race, and she's making her sophomore debut. She went and she ran over at Gulfstream Park West in the $100,000 juvenile sprint for David Fawkes. Tyler Gaffleone, a daughter of High Cotton. I remember this horse from last summer. They had high hopes for this horse. Very excited to see it come back. So excited. Made it my best bet today. And I know we have dueling best bets because I know Lyrica was your top selection.
I am a fan of Lyrica, and we've already seen trader David Fawkes with a very good 3-year-old Florida-bred filly in the form of Sweet Tooth Haven. We'll see if Surprise Wedding can add her name to the list. Lyrica, for me, faced a much tougher crew last time. Older runners, some of the better and faster sprinting older fillies or mares currently based in South Florida in that Anatee handicap earlier in the month. That race to me is a complete throwout. I loved the race 2 back on May 17th. She was the only closer to get involved in a race. The speeds ran 2, 3, 4, and 5. Lyrica, for me, you'll take the outside runner, Surprise Wedding. Let's move on to race number 9, Ronnie. We've got 2 more to go. We've got a real key rematch, and we'll go through the last couple quickly before track announcer Pete Aiello steps on the stage with the changes. But talking about Amberjack, Padilla, and DeCraziness, they all come out of a race about 3 weeks ago here on June the 1st. Amberjack on this particular day, and we'll show you the race via the spotlight, the number 2 horse. I think out of all the trips in this one with the white saddle towel and last on the screen, he's the one you want to watch. I thought Padilla, who was the number 3, had a very good trip and got a very good ride from Gilbert Chamafi. DeCraziness, who's the number 4, was able to track the pace outside and was very game. Now, as they start to turn for home, Amberjack goes to make his run, tries to angle out. Again, he's got the white saddle towel and the white blinkers, kind of just gets blind switched, and he gets bottled up as he's trying to put in that slow, grinding run towards the outside. It was the 6 Bonetown Wild who kind of closed the door, and that forced Amberjack back inside. In the end, he just ran okay. I don't think that little blind switch at the 3/16 pole affected him winning or not. He wasn't going to win that race, and to be honest, I thought DeCraziness ran well, Amberjack ran well, but you and I like a horse that's not coming out of that rematch from June 1st, the 9 Diaz, who I think you can honestly make the argument he's a little better than any of these. I just think in his current form, he's faster.
I agree. He's given a freshening after posting back-to-back perfectly timed neck victories, both here and at Tampa. The gelding loves the local surroundings. 8 races here on this turf course, 4 wins and a second. He's the only 3-time winner at the distance in the field.
And you see Tyler Gaffleone aboard again. He and his agent, obviously he's a big fish down here, but Matt Musicar, his agent, does a great job getting him on live horses. And the beauty of Tyler and even Edgar Zayas, they ride 8, 9 a day. They ride the card, they'll ride 10 a day. Doesn't matter. Let's wrap up the action. Race number 10 at 7.5 furlongs, 3 and up, $35,000 to $25,000 maiden claimers. Speaking of Tyler G, he's riding another live one for trainer Ralph Nix, and this is a race that quite obviously centers around the number 2 word on the street. If this horse is ready to run off a near 11.5-month layup, he's probably just going to win. He's probably a little bit better than these, but he hasn't been out in a long time, and he's going to be an overbet favorite due to the connections, and that makes me want to get the 5 House Account home. I think you're nuts not having the 5, 1, 2, 3, 4 here. I want to hear about your bomb, simply because he was so up against the grain of that biased turf course May 10th. It is something I've talked about ad nauseum. We've seen a whole slew of next out winners who were against that speed-friendly turf course May 10th return to win, and I'm hoping House Account can add his name to the list. What do you like about our boss here?
Our boss, I think, is going to sit the trip behind the speed this afternoon. You go back to May 4th, this horse ran very well, took money that afternoon, was second. They were going to ignore this horse because of the reasons you just mentioned with 2 word on the street. I think you get a little bit of a price, and more importantly, I think this horse sits a trip behind the speed.
Has a big amount of speed, no question about it, going the 7.5 furlongs And as we're a little tardy and late on Gulfstream today, we'll get out of here with a good amount of speed. Ron and Jason with you all day from our paddock studios. Pete Aiello, the voice of Gulfstream Park, is up next with Thursday's Scratches and Changes.